Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Spanish Football Podcast. I'm Phil Kitromilides on a wet and rainy Monday morning in Madrid. I'm with Sid Lowe. Hello, Sydney.
Good morning, Philip. How are you?
I'm okay. We are busy. We are harassed. We are a little bit irritable on this Monday morning. Let's try and cheer ourselves up, Sid, and everyone else listening.
It's pissing down with rain outside, but the football is delightful. Well, the weather outside is frightful, but the football is delightful.
I mean, delightful is very much up for debate here. But anyway, this is what happened on Matchday 22. You be the judges whether or not it was delightful. Friday night saw Alaves claim a big win. I think it was their first away win of the season at Espanyol. It confirmed Espanyol's poor start to the season after a brilliant opening half to the campaign. They are winless in 2026. Alaves winning 2-1 at Espanyol. Oviedo won a professional football match. Extraordinary scenes at the Partieres. Sydney was there to see Oviedo beat Girona 1-0. Absolutely magnificent. Osasuna and Villarreal played out a 2-2 draw. Levante played out a goalless draw with Atletico Madrid. Atleti's away form continues to be miserable. And Barcelona racked up the highest ever expected goals in La Liga history, or since that metric has been around. They won 3-1 at Elche. If I tell you this game could have been 11-3 or 3-11, I'm not exaggerating.
No, absolutely not. No.
Sunday saw Real Madrid beat Rayo Vallecano by 2-1, thanks to a 100th minute penalty from Kylian Mbappe. Desperately do not want to talk about this game, but I'm afraid we're going to have to. Betis beat Valencia 2-1, thanks to a late goal from their best player this season, Pablo Fornals, scoring a big goal for Betis. Getafe and Celta played out a goalless draw. I commentated this game. When I say that this game sort of made me lose the will
this game.
I did this game as well.
I'm sorry, Phil. I'm sorry.
When I say it made me lose the will to live, I literally came back home from this game and went to bed at 8:45. I just couldn't deal with anything more. It had sapped. I had nothing more to give after this game.
Do you know what? This game, it was what I watched it on the telly, and it was so foggy. And you're just willing the fog to come down so much that you couldn't even see it. It was that bad.
It was so bad. But yeah, because I had been drained emotionally, physically, mentally from trying to commentate that game. It meant I didn't see the Barça derby, but it finished 1-1 between Athletic Club and Real Sociedad. Monday Night Football is Mallorca against Sevilla. Now, this is shaping up to be quite a La Liga season. Why not join us at patreon.com/TSFP? Patrons get the Monday and Friday podcast without any adverts, plus they get a weekly Q&A pod and a bonus pod, and there's the newsletter, and there's the TSFP diary, and there's the Discord. Come and join us. You can sign up from €4.75 a month, which isn't much, and it's even cheaper if you get an annual membership. Extraordinary. Also, what's extraordinary, Sid, is that Oviedo won a game of football. That's where we'll start this week, because you went all the way up to Oviedo and back in a day, and you were rewarded with a 1-0 victory against an improving Girona side. You sent us a message after 6 minutes saying Girona are absolutely spanking us here, or words to that effect, and you ended up winning.
Yeah, because they didn't get to the point of making anything of it, but their control of the game was startling even that early. And I'd even said in the message, look, it's only 6 or 7 minutes, but this is, I think I might say bailando. They are dancing us. They are taking us apart. They were far the better side for almost the whole game, and absolutely for the first half. I would argue they were for the whole game. This wasn't the best Oviedo have played in a recent run where they actually haven't been too bad, but Oviedo found the win. And Santi Cazorla came on. Santi, who'd played only 8 minutes, I think, in the previous 5 games, and it looked very much like he was basically not going to play under Almada, and that was another point of conflict, because there's a real sense of tension around Oviedo at the moment, and not just because of the football, because of everything that's gone with it, because of this sense that after 24 years, it kind of in 3 or 4 months, it's all sort of fallen apart, and the absence of Santi Cazorla was kind of another thing that annoyed people. He was put on in this game, given a decent run out, I think probably 25 minutes or so. And the truth is, it took 7 or 8 minutes for him to even touch the ball. And because Girona was so dominant. And then when he did, I mean, there is very definitely a risk of me overplaying this, obviously, because it's Santi and because it's Oviedo and all the rest of it. But when he did, suddenly there was kind of a clarity. Couple of touches, boom, pass, brilliant goal. Oviedo score a really, really good goal.
It is a nice goal.
And when it 1-0. Thiago Fernandez, who's a recent signing from Villarreal on loan till the end of the season, who hadn't actually played since the end of 2024 because of a terrible knee injury. A young kid, played a big part in the goal as well. That was huge. If you allow me to make this personal just for a moment, I mean, just to tell you how huge this is. Between my son and me, we've been at 14 Oviedo games this season. The reason I say between us is because there's a couple that I've been to that he couldn't, and there's actually a couple that he's been to one that he's been to that I couldn't. Anyway, between us, 14 games this season, Real Oviedo, and it was the first time we saw them win. It's the first time he's ever seen them win in the first division.
Lovely stuff. Forgive us for starting off with one of the more low-key games of the weekend, low profile.
Except in a way, it's not low-key, obviously, because from Oviedo's point of view, they hadn't won for 14 matches.
Well, it's not low-key from Oviedo's point of view, Sid, but most of the people watching
aren't
as invested as you are.
Let me tell them how important it is. Oviedo won the World Cup on Saturday. In this absolute epidemic of managers and players calling big games finals, even literal quarterfinals at times, our manager described this game as the World Cup final. So we are now the champions of the world, everyone. Well done, Oviedo.
That's how it works. Well done. World champions and still bottom of the table, 6 points
still going
from
down.
safety.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But,
Still 6 points from safety. Could be 7, depending what happens in Monday Night Football between Mallorca and Sevilla. But there is hope. There is a chance. And you and your boy got to see a win together, which was absolutely fantastic. Lovely scenes afterwards with Santi Cazorla joining some of the fans for some celebrations in town. So terrific. Oviedo winning, setting up a lovely afternoon we've got in store for us on Saturday, Sid. It's the TSFP derby, Rayo hosting Oviedo. We will both be there, inshallah, because I've got my season tickets, but it's going to be very difficult for you to get tickets, but I'm sure you will queue up and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, if I have to queue overnight, actually, no, I'm not going that far. If I have to get up very early and be there at super o'clock, then I will.
Yeah, you will do. You'll make it. Sid. All right, let's move on and talk about Real Madrid 2, Rayo Vallecano 1. Another not very good performance from Real Madrid. They started off, I thought, in this game tentatively. First 5 or 6 minutes, Rayo had a really good chance for Elias Akamatch. It didn't happen. There were some misplaced passes from Real Madrid, and then some lovely bit of skill from Vinicius, some poor defending from Rayo Vallecano. A terrific goal for Vinny, his first in 4 months. A very ostentatious celebration, continuously kissing the badge, trying to get the fans on his side because they were whistling him again. And at that point, it felt, okay, you know what? He silenced some of the whistles. Real Madrid can go on and play all right in this game and get something out of it. Didn't happen. They allowed Rayo back into the game in the first half, and they ended 1-0, but Rayo had the initiative and they started the second half really well. They scored a really good goal from Jorge de Frutos. It was 1-1. Andre Ratiu was through on goal to make it 2-1 and failed to do so. And then Patesis got himself sent off. Very clear red card for a terrible challenge on Dani Ceballos. 9 minutes of added time were given somehow. And in the 7th of those 9 minutes, or 8th of those 9 minutes,
of those
penalty. Penalty is given, a very clear penalty for a foul from Noble Mendy on Brahim Diaz. It's dispatched by Kylian Mbappe, and Real Madrid have a much-needed win, but poor performance. That's my assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and producer Al were sitting there, and when the board went up with 9 minutes, said to each other, so how do you think the winning goal is going to be scored by Real Madrid? Is it a Gonzalo Garcia header, or is it a Kylian Mbappe penalty? Well, it turned out to be the latter of those two things. I thought Real Madrid really got away with it. I think it's very, again, me and Al were sitting in the press conference actually together, and I don't want to kind of go on about it too much because Al was kind of sort of, nudging me and saying, the manager's just said, you've asked a really good question there, because there was something that I thought was very interesting. You talking about Rayo, which is that I thought there was an emotional process. And Inigo Perez said that that's exactly what it had been. That he said, when you go to the Bernabeu, there can be a fear. And there can be this sense that you don't dare to do the things that you want to do. And in the first half, in part, it was about shaking that fear off and then playing. And I thought that once they scored in the second half, they were by far the better team, Rayo. They were moving the ball around, and that fear had gone, and they were playing. And there was, as I say, there was a psychological process, not just a footballing one, a kind of sense of, hey, this lot aren't that good. We can do this. And I thought they were easily the better team in a big chunk of that second half. I'd say 30 minutes or so of that second half. Madrid weren't getting to the ball. Madrid had bought Dani Ceballos. And it's curious here. Here comes the contradiction. They bought Dani Ceballos on. Dani Ceballos, ultimately, you could say, kind of played quite well. Is the profile.
He did play well.
He played really profile. Well, here comes the contradiction. He's the profile of the player that they want, and yet he never quite gets continuity. And yet, at the same time, it's true that it's the period that he's on the pitch when Rayo take more control of the middle of the midfield. So he did play well. But I thought the things he did were good, but Rayo were better when he was on, bizarrely enough. Partly because Real Madrid were playing this formation when it was 4 at the back, 3 of whom are midfielders.
Sid, they ended the game with every single forward they have.
Right, here we go. This is what I mean. So 4 at the back, 3 of whom are midfielders. Dani Ceballos on his own in midfield, and 5 up front.
Yeah.
Ceballos was trying to do this thing.
It was Rodrigo, Vinicius, Kylian Mbappe, Gonzalo, and Brahim. All 5 of them.
Now, here's one of the things. We're going to talk about how Madrid play. And I apologize for doing this because I actually thought Rayo played so well that we should focus maybe a little bit more on them. So here's the thing. Rayo played really well. Okay. Arbeloa said something after the game, which I think was so telling. And I hope that over the next few days it gets picked up on a little bit. He was asked about Gonzalo Garcia playing on the right.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we want him in the area where he can affect the game. And he went on to say that, we've got to work out what people's best positions are. He was essentially admitting that he put the players on the pitch and they went wherever they wanted. And there was no plan. And Gonzalo Garcia, who he wants in the area because you're chasing the game, is on the right wing. So it was this very strange admission that this was just go out there and whatever. And I thought Madrid were bloody awful, to be honest with you. I thought they were really bad, and I thought they were really lucky to get away with it. I think there's no way it was 9 minutes. It should have been 9 minutes given, to be perfectly honest with you. It's true that Batalla plays a game. But actually, you know what? The time that Batalla wasted the most time taking a goal kick is because Mbappe was standing in the area. And he was saying, look, he's standing in the area. It was Mbappe that wasted time that time.
He got booked quite early on as well for that. So then,
it wasn't that extreme. Anyway, that's by the by. I don't want to go bang on too much about the time. But I just thought that the performance level from Madrid was really, really poor. Really poor. They may be a little unlucky. Mbappe hits the bar at one point. There's a header against the post, I think, from Camavinga.
Yep.
And a couple of sort of half chances. But this Real Madrid team aren't very good.
Well, and Andre Ratiu was through on goal. He ran the entire half.
You could tell he wasn't going to score, though, couldn't you?
No.
Like he had Gonzalo Garcia running behind him, and he sort of changed directions a couple of times to try and shake him off, which is fine. Yeah. But you could kind of sense that he was thinking, oh, did this have to be me?
Yes. Well, it was him because he was the quickest player on the pitch and the quickest player in the league. But saved by Thibaut Courtois, and Real Madrid get a win. It was an important win because Barcelona were 4 points clear. They're still just a point behind Barcelona, Sid. This catastrophe of a Real Madrid side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hanging on to Barcelona's coattails. We'll see. Barcelona are at home to Mallorca next weekend, and Real Madrid go to Valencia without Vinicius, who picked up a yellow card, which means that he's suspended for that game.
Yeah, just very briefly on Vinicius, when he was shouting at the crowd after having scored the goal, I don't know if you've seen the footage, he's shouting, "We're playing Carallo." In other words, like, we're playing, that's it now, we've heard it, we know you're upset, join us. Yeah. And for a while it did sort of work, but then the whistles came back all the way through the game, and things aren't good. Things aren't good at all. Philip, this episode of TSFP is brought to you by our friends at NordVPN.
Now, we travel a lot covering Spanish football, whether it's following Spanish teams around Europe in the Champions League.
Or going to 3 league games in a weekend, or sometimes 4.
Sometimes 4. The best way to make sure you've got access to all your content from back home is using NordVPN.
Which I'll be using in the summer when we head off to the US for the World Cup, Phil.
Whether it's keeping up with football or TV shows or movies, NordVPN lets you access your subscriptions back home wherever you are.
And it's really easy to use, which, let's be honest, is quite important if you're about as tech savvy as I am.
Which is not very. It also improves your internet security, which is important if you spend a lot of time using public Wi-Fi, let's say at train stations or airports or hotel lobbies.
Those kind of places where I spend pretty much 90% of my time.
You connect with just one click. It's one of the fastest VPNs around, and you can use up to 10 devices with one account. For more information, this is really important. You need to head to nordvpn.com/TSFP.
There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you also get 4 extra months for free. The link, please, Phil?
Well, you can find it in the show notes, but I'll tell you again, it's nordvpn.com facebook.com/TSFP. All right, let's talk about Barcelona, who won at Elche. As we said, it was 3-1, the highest ever XG from Barcelona in La Liga history. I think it was over 6.5. Absolutely ludicrous. 30 shots, 13 Opta-defined big chances created. Lots we could talk about in this game. I think Elche certainly allowed Barcelona to play a game where they would create lots of chances. They weren't as clinical as they should be. Ferran Torres scored, but missed a couple where it was easier to score rather than miss. I would say the headline from this game, Sid, and the big thing for Barcelona and the great thing for Barcelona is Lamine is back, fully back to his best, maybe even better than his best from last season, because I think he's doing slightly last season.
I think he's brilliant, and we knew that before. But I think one of the things that's happening, and I think we talked a little bit about this in the pod last week, is that the decision-making process is so good. So it's not the running at people, it's not the skill, it's not the getting past people. It's not just the insistence. Well, actually, I think the insistence is really interesting. And this is something that I've often said about Vinicius as well. Is you go and you go and you go and you go and you keep going, and the fullback might stop you the first couple of times, but by the 70th minute, the fullback's had enough of this. It's like, please just stop it. But it's the decision-making. It's how clearly he sees the game. It's how clever a player he is, as well as how much technical quality he's got.
I feel like he's shooting less from that Lamine position. He is.
I agree with you. Because he's coming into that position where the natural thing is, okay, left foot swing into that top right corner. And he's now going, actually, you know what? Little angled inside pass and go back again. Or he's going, okay, slot it through the gap for someone running in from the other side of the area. That kind of thing, I think, is happening more. He's still doing the other thing that I think helps with Lamine Yamal, and obviously there is a potential limitation to being on the right wing, left-footed, and coming inside. And the potential limitation is obviously that when the ball is delivered or when you shoot, it's one of two options: the shot curls that corner, or if you like, it's delivered and dropped in on a kind of in-swinging cross. But because he's so happy to use the outside of his foot, you actually get the other type of cross as well. Even though he's not going into the position where you would use your right foot, and actually he's still really quite reluctant to use his right foot. And I think that generally works really well. The last few weeks, I actually think he's possibly messed up a few of those outside the foot passes, but he's prepared to play those. He's prepared to play them really, really early. So it's not necessarily obvious that he'll run to kind of the height of the top of the area and then come back across, even though there's a bit of that. I think his all-round game is so good. And as I say, I think he's bright as much as anything else. And we've mentioned this before, but that opens the possibility that he will evolve into something slightly different. And I don't want to mention that guy. I don't want to mention that guy, but that guy went through a sort of similar process.
I mean, how similar?
Well, because that guy started as a right winger and someone going at people and coming inside, but being quick and dynamic and skillful, and then goes into a sort of false nine position where everything kind of comes through him and he becomes a goal scorer, but also a player as well. Then ends up back on that right-hand side, but a different type of right-hand sided player now. And in fact, a player on that right-hand side I suppose that's the third manifestation of Messi. God, that's kind of scientific. This is a scientific paper, the manifestations of Messi, the stages of development. But that third one, I actually think is part of what we're seeing with Lamine now. That pass that Messi would constantly give to Jordi Alba, right-hand side, dropped over the top. Lamine plays that all the time, and he plays it so well. And so I think there are elements there that you're seeing, not necessarily an evolution, but if you like how would I put this? A broadening of the things that he does. An expansion of the things that he does, and he's fantastic. Admittedly, this was a game where Elche made it a little bit easy. But I mean, we've talked about this all year. Incredibly high line, loads of space to run through, easy to pick them off, and that's Elche, not Barcelona this time. Although it was Barcelona as well, to be fair, actually
as well.
Yeah, but it made for a great game. It was a lot of fun, and if you look at pause the video on the first goal. And that Elche backline isn't a line, it's a squiggle. I mean, I suppose any line is a line, but what I mean is it's not a straight line. It's a squiggle. It's quite extraordinary. If you like, the lack of coordination between the positions. I think in part that's because they decided to try and go almost man-to-man across the pitch.
They did.
And of course, when you go man to man, what happens? One really, really, really basic thing happens, which is that your focus becomes the players you're playing against, not the players you're playing with. And so any idea of having a coordination with the players you're playing with almost inevitably goes out the window.
Barcelona really could have, I mean, genuinely, they could have been in double figures for goals in this game. They did concede, and they did concede some chances, though. Again,
yes, they did.
You know, they're just going to outscore
But you know what?
everyone.
Well, that's the thing, right? So we can talk about Barcelona's defense, and of course we will. And of course, and I apologize in a way to Barcelona fans, because I think the focus on this at times does lead to this kind of overly negative analysis of a really great team. Well, not a really, I don't know if they're a really great team or not. Let's see what happens in Europe. But a team that's a lot of fun to watch, that's the best team in Spain, that last year reached a Champions League semi-final, that was seconds away from reaching a final. Who knows if they would have won it? We don't know what would have happened in the final. But, you know, we're talking about a really good team. And because that backline thing is so obvious, I think in a way we fall into the trap of talking about it too much. And it comes to your point. Do you know what? The team that wins the game isn't the team that's conceded the fewest goals. It's the team that has scored more than the other team. Now, obviously, that could be scoring few and conceding few, or it can be scoring a lot and conceding a lot. And actually, if they win every game 5-4 in a European Champions, I'm all for it.
I mean, yes. And we come back to it, and people say they will never be European champions with this.
But they might be.
They might be, and they were very close to it last season. Yeah. And so far with Hansi Flick, he has won every trophy he has been able to, apart from the Champions League, where he got very close. So it's actually not going that badly.
No, exactly. And it is. I do think it is incumbent upon us at times to just kind of take. The thing is, of course, it's such an obvious thing, and you can't help but watch them and think, like at Stamford Bridge, and think that a really well drilled, really good team that takes its chances will at some point beat them badly. A bit like Sevilla did, even. Now, I don't know. I think that's probably unfair, but you can't help but be drawn to that idea.
Yes. All right. We'll see how Barcelona get on between now. Rather suspect they're going to be Spanish champions, and another domestic treble is well within their grasp.
Except, as you said, Madrid are only 1 point behind. I mean, it is amazing. We're here talking about how great Barcelona are and how bad Real Madrid are. Well, if we're taking our lead by results, there's almost nothing between them.
But if we're looking at performances, there's
yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, this weekend's a good example. They both got 3 points, but they were not the same.
Speaking of performances, Atletico Madrid at Levante, this is their worst performance of the season. I don't know how much you saw of this game. They were staggeringly bad, genuinely terrible in this game. Awful.
No, I watched the highlights.
Particularly the second half. There was nothing.
When they should have been going for it. Yes. When there should have been a moment where you've had the halftime team talk, you've had the evidence of the first half placed before you. Yeah, it's true. Sorlof's gone off with having had that clash of heads and stuff. But there's that thing of, okay, here we go. No arsing around now. There isn't time for arsing about. And it was empty, wasn't it? It was really empty. Now, it's not massively surprising. They come off the back of the Champions League defeat. They haven't played well away from home all season. They're going into a Copa del Rey this week, which I think is the possibly the focal point of their season now, at least in the short term, at least until the Champions League games come back round, which isn't that far off, admittedly. And it wasn't that surprising, but it was still really, really bad. And in fact, the best chance is probably the one that Oblak saves.
Yes. Yeah. They've been busy I say busy. They have been active in the transfer market in the last 24 hours. They've signed Ademola Lookman from Atalanta, which looks like a quite an exciting signing, to be honest. If we're comparing him, to Giacomo Raspadori, who he has come to replace, in theory, that is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
In theory,
I'm not sure if it is Raspadori who he replaces. It feels a little bit more to me more like he replaces Nico Gonzalez.
Well, he's going to leave.
No, but positionally on the pitch, I mean.
Oh, right. I see. Well, yes. And of course, 4 players have left Atletico Madrid this month. 2 of them weren't playing too much, Carlos Martin and Javi Galan, or they weren't playing at all. 2 others weren't playing that much, Raspadori and Conor Gallagher, although they need someone to replace Conor Gallagher. They need a midfielder to come in, and they're being linked with another Atalanta forward, Sid, strongly linked with what's his name, Edison from Atalanta. which seems strange. But I mean, they need a midfielder between now and the end of the. They've got 12 hours, just over 12 hours to get a midfielder in to replace Conor Gallagher.
There's a slight contradiction there, which is I feel like they need a midfielder to give them strength in
depth.
depth.
Edison is a midfielder, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel they need a midfielder for strength in depth, because I actually think if everyone's fit, you don't necessarily need a midfielder who starts. But you can see that Barrios is exhausted, and Simeone said that the other day. Koke is injured at the moment. Koke is what, 33, 34, 33. The thing is that Matteo Lamine, and this is why I'm talking about the contradiction, has said that his aim in the transfer market isn't to buy people who bolster the squad. It's to buy people who get the 11 to increase their level. So if Edison is going to play, well, actually, we're forgetting about Johnny Carlos, aren't we? We've almost completely forgotten Johnny Carlos because he's been. Oh, I have. I've almost forgotten him. Okay.
I mean, he's at the forefront of my mind, Sid.
Is he?
Well, he's not far off. But no, I mean, I think he will end the season being quite important for.
I suspect he will, because I think in a way he has to, because I think the way they are at the moment, he has to be playing far more often. But I suppose because he was injured at the start, because he not really had a proper run at it, and we've not seen a huge amount from him, it feels like he's been, well, to me at least, I've forgotten him. All right, maybe others haven't. I had.
All right, we'll see if they can get that deal for Edison over the line. He is a midfielder. Big mistake from me. I apologise, dear listeners. Quick word of the Basque derby, Sid, before we go.
Well, the quick word for me is it's a really, really poor red card, which does change the game. Athletic didn't play.
Who got sent off?
Who got sent off? Oh God, my mind's gone blank. Bryce Mendes,
right?
Who basically has Paredes. Has Paredes come and push him to try and wind him up. He pushes him back, but as pushing him back, he catches him in the face, barely catches him. Paredes takes a second or so to think about it, then falls over. Referee hasn't really seen it, comes over, gives him a red card. At that point, it's 1-0 to Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad have been the better side. And then Athletic equalise. One thing I will say, a 1-1 draw, both goals are absolutely glorious. Ruth de Galarreta's equaliser is lovely, albeit it's true that the two defenders, who I quite like the fact that it was number 2 and number 22, so all the twos were like two fat ladies in bingo and really didn't move very much.
Right. Okay. That's your assessment then of the game.
Oh, no, hang on. 22 isn't two fat ladies. That's rubbish.
That's
bingo.
88.
That's two little ducks, isn't it, 22? What am I talking about? Right, like two little ducks, they only waddled. Does that work? I don't think it does. I've ruined this metaphor, for which I apologise. But there you go. The point is, Real Sociedad were the better side, but it finished 1-1. It was blood and thunder, but Real Sociedad are significantly better than an Athletic side that I'm starting to worry about.
Well, don't worry about it. I'm not going to go down. They just won't have a very good season. They're not going to get relegated, are they?
Well, that's the question. Are they?
No, it's not. They're bloody not going to get relegated.
They've
never been relegated, Sid.
Are they definitely not going to get relegated?
They are 1,000,000% not going to get relegated.
All right. I feel better now. Yeah.
All right. Relax.
Yeah,
you can sleep now at night. Athletic Club.
Could you please say the same about Real Oviedo? We're 1,000,000% not going to get relegated.
That are getting relegated.
Oh.
I've told you I've got a bet with my friend who is a Real Oviedo sympathiser. I said you're going to be relegated with not even within 4 points of safety. So I gave him a little handicap to make it interesting. We've got a dinner riding on it, so let's see.
Very good.
Shout out to Oscar, who sent me quite a crowing message after Oviedo's victory and sending me links to the restaurants that he wants me to take him to dinner because he thinks that Oviedo are going to be safe.
Good on you, Oscar.
All right, in the Segunda, leaders Racing lost 1-0 at Granada, but they're still top on 44 points. Castellona 2 points back and looking good after a 2-0 win over Andorra. We're over at patreon.com/TSFP for the rest of the week. There's a Q&A pod tomorrow. We'll take your questions. We'll probably also reflect on the closure of the transfer market as well, because I suspect it's actually going to be quite busy, not in terms of huge transfers, but there will be quite a bit of business done in the next 15 hours or so. We'll do a bonus podcast on Thursday. There is Copa del Rey quarterfinals this week, so plenty for us to talk about. So come and join us. As we said, it's €4.75 a month. It's really good value. And if you don't want to do that, we'll be back on Friday with the preview pod, looking ahead to what's coming up this weekend in La Liga EA Sports. So make sure you join us then. Adios, amigos.
Cheerio.